What's going on, guys? Matt here. So, I know what you're thinking. You specifically did a poll asking us which knife you wanted me to review next, and this weird knife that you've never heard of was not on that list. On that list was the Top Tsukumakage, which is technically a sword, and the Schrade Leroy Bowie, which is almost a sword. This is the Flissa 9-inch knife. It doesn't have a specific name. But yeah, I got this knife and I was just really interested to use it and to review it. So I will do those reviews, I promise, guys. But right now we are looking at the Flissa, if we're going by the Amazon description, Flissa 9-inch fixed blade knife, D2 steel hunting knife for camping, outdoor, bushcraft, and survival, wood handle, leather sheath included, gifts for husband, father, friend. So I guess that's the whole name of the knife. No, we're going to call it the Flissa 9 because that's kind of what Essie does anyway, right? They don't have very, creative names for a lot of their blades, SE6, SE4. So Flissa 9, let's call it that. So interesting knife. Some of you guys may have seen these advertised on Amazon. That's where I saw it. That's where I found it. And so I saw it. I saw it for a really inexpensive price. And I said, yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and get this thing and see what it's all about, because it had some really good reviews. And D2 steel, full tang, with a wood handle and a leather sheath for to less than 20 bucks. I was interested. I was interested to see if there was legitimacy to it. So, guys, as always, we're going to look at some size comparison. We're going to do some specs, talk about what I like, what I dislike, and then we'll talk about some concluding thoughts, and if there's something unique in there, we will get to that. So, first, let's compare the Flissa 9 to some very common blades, some blades that you'll know the size of. The Essie Heavy Duty Companion, right? You guys are wondering why this looks so crazy. You can see that kind of size comparison real quick. You can see why this looks so crazy. Well, first of all, I did a patina, a vinegar patina on it, and then I used it a lot. Well, I did more than that. Look at all those scratches. I'm sure you guys have here, if you've been in the knife community often enough, when you talk about a steel that's easy to sharpen, you say you could sharpen it on a river stone or a creek stone. I went camping a few weeks ago, Red River Gorge, Kentucky, and I thought, my Mora Companion is carbon, in carbon steel, which I'm not sure what they compare that to, is getting a little bit dull. Maybe I'll try and sharpen it on a river stone. So that's exactly what I did. I got a river stone and I sharpened it. And how well did it go? Well, it went all right, honestly. Like it sharpened. So yeah, can confirm it will work, and you can sharpen the Mora carbon steel on a river stone decently anyway to get a working edge. But you can see the idea. Very similar in size, even the same grind, Scandi grind on there. So very similar in size with that Mora. Let's look at a comparison to one of the most boring but one of my faves, Cold Steel SRK. This is in 3V. In that, I think that's olive drab kind of style handle. Yeah, that'll do it for size comparisons. Okay, let's talk about the specs on this blade. Because, you guys know, this isn't a knife many people know about, right? Flissa is kind of one of those Chinese Amazon companies that we might see advertised a lot, and we see those kind of silly advertisements for, but we kind of write it off. Even though the materials look good, how good can a $20 knife be? We'll get into that. So let's talk about the specs real quick. So we're looking at 9 inches overall, 4¼ inches of the blade on the blade. It says that it weighs 6 ounces, but I believe it weighs a little less. It feels a little less. I haven't weighed it yet. So let's do that real quick. Let's see, zero that out. Perfect. Okay, well, I guess technically it does weigh a tiny bit less, so it's about 6 ounces. So 6 ounces on that, and I mentioned the blade. It is 4 millimeters thick, so good stock, similar thickness to like a K-bar. To pick it up, you're looking at, for the wood handle, less than 20 bucks right now on Amazon. For micarta, around 25, and for G10, around 25 also, yeah. So anyway, let's talk about what I like about this knife. Obviously, the price is something, price to materials is something that's obviously a really, really good positive on this. Now, it bears mentioning that there have been reports on, I believe it was Iffengrau's Chinese knives, that at first they were not made in D2, even though they were advertised to be made in D2. They were actually made in something closer to 8CR. for this price, HCR actually wouldn't be bad either. But still, is this actually made in D2? I don't have, I can't remember what they're called, but they bounce like X-rays off of the material, and they can tell you kind of the contents of a metal. I don't have one of those. I'd love to have one day. So I can't determine if this is true D2. All I can say is in use, and yes, I have used this quite a bit, and I will get into that. It performs similarly to D2. The edge holding capabilities are quite good, and they feel similar to D2. Any D2 you'd really use, maybe on the soft side, but it's just so hard to determine nuances like that. So price to cost is nice. This has this really pretty wood handle, and yes, it is real wood. You can tell because it's very imperfect. You can see the imperfections in the wood, how the grains are dissimilar. So yeah, it looks like a very kind of classic hunting knife, you know, kind of how knives were made before we had the modern polymers and stuff. So I really think the materials are solid. Again, if it's not D2, it very well might not be. That might not have been a positive for me, but still, knife to materials are solid. And that includes the leather sheath. Now, I don't like this high gloss finish that they do on a lot of these leathers, but this is real leather. I can tell by how it feels, how it flexes, how it smells. So yeah, I'm not a huge fan of how they do that. Is this real leather? I guess we'll see. It says real leather. It feels like real leather, but the more I look at it, the more that you guys tell me if the grain on that leather looks a little bit faux. Anyway, it's very high quality. Stitching's really good. Very solid, not flimsy leather, you know, so excellent job on the sheath as well, especially for that knife. So cost materials, excellent. Another thing I really like is I like this Scandi ground blade. It's surprising to see this kind of grind on a knife like this. This might be made for other companies as well. But yeah, seeing a Scandi like this on a blade like this is just very interesting, and I kind of like it. Very bushcraft oriented, obviously, in looks and obviously that grind. There is something I don't love about that grind, but yeah, I think it's really interesting, the grind. And ultimately, like, the thickness on this is quite surprising for a blade of its size. And I think that lends itself to being a very durable bushcraft knife, you know. The heavy-duty companion, this is the heavy-duty, mind you, I think it's about 3.2 millimeters thick. So you're looking at, yeah, maybe it's less than 3.2. A lot less thickness on that, more heavy-duty. This is the heavy-duty and than on this. So a lot more durability when it comes to something like this. Another thing I really like is the handle. Handle is very comfortable. It's simple. It's just it reminded me of like an old butcher's knife handle, an old kitchen knife handle, right? Just tiny little hump, and then, you know, groove on either side, or to just lock your hand in. I have extra large hands, extra large in thickness, short fingers, very comfortable in my hand, no issues whatsoever. So perfect on that front. And another thing I do like on this blade is I like that there are these two, gosh, what are they called? I know this is a lanyard hole, but I don't know if this has a specific name, but I know that it's meant to so you can lash a spear. So I just think that's interesting. You don't see that on many blades. And it's just an interesting design element. It's not going to really compromise, I don't think, the integrity of the blade, like the toughness, if you were batoning or anything like that, because this is so far to the top. You know, it's not like it's in the center right here. So I wouldn't think it would compromise much on kind of the strength of the blade. I could be wrong. You guys can let me know in the comments though. So yeah, I really enjoy that it has that. I just think it's a cool element to it. So let's talk about the things I don't like now. So first of all, the fit and finish isn't great. You can kind of tell the Tang is quite proud of that. Is it uncomfortable in use? Not right there. It's not. They're just mismatched a little bit. Again, it feels like a kind of old world knife, surprisingly, because it's not perfect, you know. It just feels like a solid knife kind of that doesn't have great fit and finish. But honestly, it kind of reminds me of some of Buck's fit and finish. You know, kind of mismatched, not perfect, but doable. Another thing about it is, so I think it's great that this has a 90-degree spine, but it is the sharpest 90-degree spine I've ever had. Like I was doing some pretty heavy duty bushcraft work with it and putting my thumb right here, and I really felt that. So be careful if you're not using gloves on this thing. It might even be something you lightly sand down just to make it a little bit more rounded. That might be, important. So, the fit and finish, along with what I was mentioning with the handles, I do want to mention this real quick. You can tell that, look at that tip. That's cockeyed. So it's not perfect. Again, another fit and finish issue. But yeah, so that 90-degree spine is a real 90 degrees, right? So just be careful on that. Yeah, so I mean, honestly, that's really it. That's the dislikes, that's the likes. I want to talk a little bit about this knife though, because I think it's really important that us as knife guys and gals, like, we look at this knife and we kind of balk and we're like, oh my gosh, Flissa, what the heck, that's some cheap Chinese company. Ugh, is it even really D2? What if it's 9CR13 MOV? For a lot of you guys, maybe you're just looking for an outdoors knife, you're looking for a bushcraft knife, you're looking for a camp knife, you're looking for whatever, just a solid fixed blade knife to keep with you when you're doing yard work, or when you're out in the woods hunting. This might be all you need. You don't need to spend even $100 on a 3V SRK. Like you don't need to spend the high dollars to buy, this beautiful cold steel, another cold steel Master Tonto, right? Like, all you need is a blade to have that has utility and that has use and that will function well in that. And something like a Mora is going to do that, and something like this is going to do that as well. Like, trusting that this has D2 materials, this is a better value. This is a higher value with a leather sheath that fits just really well, really solid, no movement, fits really nicely in there. This might be all you need, guys, and you guys might be able to have this blade. You might be able to have this blade, and this is all you have. This is all you need for your fixed blade knife, and I think that's great. So there are some fit and finish issues. There's there's a few things, of course, I would change, but for $19.99 with, I'm looking at it right now, an 8% coupon on Amazon, I think this is a great deal, and I think it's a great choice and a great buy. This might be something you give as a gift to a friend. This might be the only knife you need as a hunter or as a woodsman or woodswoman, of course. But yeah, so this just might be that knife that you're totally fine with having, and you don't need to go out and buy a ton of knives. And I say go for it. This knife it's a simple blade. It's made of good materials, and it's super durable. I went out and when I got this blade, I was like, okay, $20. I've seen $20 knives. Some can be good, like the Moras. Like I've pounded on this, guys. I have absolutely pounded on this. But with some blades, I have pounded on them and they have broke. I batoned a ton with this. I chucked this thing. I threw it a ton at trees. The only thing I can say is the scales loosened a little bit and I tightened them in 10 seconds. It took everything I needed it to. So this might be a blade that you can just buy, not care much about, and it just be a utilitarian blade for you. I think that's cool, guys. The Flissa 9 is an absolute recommend. Great value. For us knife guys, it's not really that blade though, right? Like knife guys, we want something different. We want something special. We want something pretty. I would argue that this is actually quite good looking, but this might be not be the blade for you, and that's totally okay. I think that this kind of knife and knives like it definitely have a place in the knife world. Guys, it's a recommend on the Flissa 9. Thanks so much for watching. Make sure to like and subscribe, and we'll see you in the next video. Peace.